Welcome back to the Boot Tragedies. Only one thing for certain in this situation, and that is Derek Carr will not be traded to the Saints. Anything after that, all speculation. We'll kind of jump into some of those things right now about Derek Carr, the Saints, his options, our options, going into this upcoming season at the quarterback position. Let's just start with this trade. Derek Carr came to the Saints, visited the Saints, went to dinner with, I'm assuming Mickey Loomis, Dennis Allen, and the rest of the crew. So I can only assume that a couple of things happened here. They talked about his contract. Obviously, the Saints weren't going to pay him $40.5 million. That's just not going to happen for a quarterback of Derek Carr's stature. The same reason why the Raiders benched him the last 2 games of the season, because if he got hurt, that $40.5 million became guaranteed, and no one in their right mind is going to pay Derek Carr $41 million a year to play quarterback in the NFL. It's just no way. He's not that good. He's not a bad quarterback, but he's not $41 million good. That'll put him around, I would think, 5 to 10 range, and he's just not that on quarterback. So let's talk about some of these reports that came out. The first report came out was that Derek Carr would not be getting traded to the Saints, and also he would not be getting traded to any team. Now this is very interesting because the Saints, are the only team that he, took a visit with, got permission to take a visit with. So obviously the Saints were in the driver's seat. It was obviously mutual interest on both sides. Apparently the Saints did have compensation with the Raiders already in place. They just had to get a deal done with Derek Carr, and that didn't happen. So the Saints could have done a couple things in this situation. I'll kind of go through both of these, the more realistic options in my opinion. One, this could be very realistic, is that, he came talk with the Saints brass and the Saints people, and they were like, hey, we want you to be our quarterback next season. We're not going to pay you $40.5 million. We're going to cut that contract maybe in half to $20 million a season for this 1 year, 2 years, however much, the Saints want to pay him, compensate him for however many years. Because obviously if you're going to bring him in, maybe you're going to bring him on a 2-year deal or something like that. And maybe he didn't like that. Maybe he was like, you know what? I'll have better chance in free agency market. Y'all are bidding against yourselves right now. So maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe I just want to, go into free agency. Maybe some other teams will be interested in me, and maybe I can get more money. Maybe that's an option. I can definitely see that as an option for Derek Carr. It's a little risky option because you go to free agency. Let's just pretend the Saints offer him $20 million for next season. Let's say you go to free agency and you only have 2 other teams, but say they only think you're worth $12 million, and now the Saints get wind of that, you only worth $12 million. Now we're only going to pay you $15. So it's definitely a risk on his behalf, or it could turn into a bidding war, and they could say, Saints offer you 20, we'll offer you 25, or we'll offer you 26. Those things can happen. Definitely a little risk, involved in that scenario for Derek Carr, but I respect it. If you want your money, go get your money. Good for the Saints. If they slice that in half, good for them, because it's just no way Mickey Loomis and Dennis Allen or in their right mind if they pay Derek Carr $41 million for a football season. Now, that's scenario one. I think that's the more realistic option. I think that's what honestly happened. But option two is basically Derek Carr just hates the Raiders. If you've seen from his interviews, he's always making jokes because he's kind of the scapegoat out there in Las Vegas this season at the quarterback position. Obviously, they had a good team last year, and then they came in, brought Devontae Adams, got a new coach in McDaniels. So obviously the sky was the limit for them. In their minds, didn't even make the playoffs, had a very, very bad season. Expectation-wise, it was very high. They didn't meet those expectations. So obviously the quarterback's going to get that blame. Quarterback and coach, that's kind of how that goes. And Derek Carr obviously is getting released for it. Now, obviously, that's going to bring a little hate. That's going to bring a little hate to the Raiders' way, and maybe he just hates the Raiders so much that he doesn't want to help them at all. Maybe the Saints and him, hey, this is my conspiracy theory right here. Maybe the Saints and him got together and was like, hey, let's backdoor the Raiders. I even tweeted this. Let's backdoor the Raiders. We'll agree with the compensation with the Raiders, make it seem like we're doing business with them, but I want you to decline any trade offer, even from us. And then you can just sign with us in free agency. We get to keep our picks. We get to keep our assets. And we still get to get you. So now we just win twice instead of having to give something up to the Raiders, which they don't deserve anything. I think his release date is February 15th. It's no way we should give them compensation for somebody that's about to get released. And one thing that is interesting about this whole situation was I don't think it was just the Saints thing. So obviously with Derek Carr visiting the Saints and him not, taking that deal, that's okay. But he also said he's not taking a trade to any other team, which that got my conspiracy theory wheels going, because I'm like, all right, if the Saints thing didn't work out, maybe he would still want to get a job with Carolina, the Jets, or whomever it may be. But he basically said, you know what? I'm not getting traded anywhere, which kind of makes no sense to me because, obviously you want a job next year. You want to get paid next year. Why not just visit other teams and see if you can get a better deal? It's the same thing you did with the Saints. Why not just keep going? Why not go to this team, then this team, then this team? doesn't make sense to, in my opinion, unless you're trying some sneaky stuff back doors. Like, hey, maybe me and the Saints did agree to a deal. Maybe we do have something in place, and maybe I'm just gonna wait till I get released and I'll just shop with the Saints. And maybe I'll just go right there the day after I'm released. Who knows what's going to happen? I think that'd be a very sneaky move by Mickey Loomis. I don't think he's got that in his heart, though. I don't think he'll do that. That's what I would do if I was the GM. If I really wanted Derek Carr, I would tell him, hey, look, we're not trading the third or fourth or fifth round pick or whatever it may take to get you here. But we want you here. We're going to pay you this. So just tell them you don't want to get traded to any team in the NFL. They're going to cut you. Then you're going to sign here the same day. That would be absolutely crazy by Mickey Loomis. I think it also would be a good GM move. Hey, man. The game is the game. You have to get up to the times. You have to get up to the standards. Teams will do it to the Saints, so we might as well do it to other teams. So if you really want Derek Carr, we'll see. We'll see. I know a lot of people have been cheering about, yes, he's not on our team. He's not going to be our quarterback. Y'all might want to slow down. This is far from over, in my opinion. I think this is far from over. It's not that many teams that really, really need a quarterback, especially a quarterback like Derek Carr. Most of these teams that, need a quarterback are probably bad already, so they don't want to bring him in. They'll probably be looking at the draft. You have the Texans. Maybe the Lions. I highly doubt the Lions. One quarterback, Jared Goff, played pretty good. You got the Jets. Maybe they think their team is good enough to compete for a playoff spot, so maybe they pull that trick. And you got a couple other teams, the Panthers in the division, the Falcons, even though I don't think, they'll take Derek Carr. They'll just probably ride it out with Ritter. But you have a couple teams that may be interested in his services. So it's going to be very, very interesting how this Derek Carr situation plays out. And especially because, basically Super Bowl's over now, so football's done. And also the draft is so far away that he's going to be first in free agency out here. He's going to get the first crack at it when it gets released in a couple days. So I know he'll try to get that wrapped up before everybody else hits the market, and also before, the draft and stuff come around, because you don't want to be in a situation where teams just throw you away and they start focusing on the draft. So for the Saints, we still need a quarterback. Apparently, we still need a quarterback. Dennis Allen, Mickey Loomis, Pete Carmichael, whoever you want to blame or not blame. Obviously, they're trying to upgrade the quarterback position. That's evident at this point. They don't believe in Jameis Winston. They don't believe in Andy Dalton, because if you did, you wouldn't be out shopping for quarterbacks. And I believe they're right. You should always try to upgrade every offseason, no matter the position, especially if you can afford it. I don't care how well somebody is playing. Like, just for instance, Ron Ramczyk, all-pro tackle. Just for some reason, they had a better all-pro tackle that really, really wanted to come to the Saints and cheaper than Ron Ramczyk. You got to do it. You just got to upgrade every position if you can. That should be the GM. You should be trying to make your team better every offseason. Now, obviously, the Ron Ramczyk example is like an extreme, and that'll probably never happen. But at the quarterback position, you feel that these quarterbacks aren't playing well. You feel like they're not playing up to your standard. You're trying to get better, and they can't do that. Then you go out and you shop for somebody else, and I guess Derek Carr is on their radar. We'll see. It's not too many good quarterbacks out there in free agency, so maybe you have to turn to the draft. But if you're really trying to win now, you're always saying you're in win now mode. Will a quarterback in the draft, especially with a late first round pick, even be there? Or a second or third round quarterback? Or are you really trying to give them the keys to the franchise? So it's a lot of things the Saints are going to have to consider in this quarterback search. And like I've been saying, Dennis Allen, do what you want. Do what you want, boy. Sink or swim. You go with Derek Carr, it better work out. You go with whomever, it better work out. Because if not, trust me, this will be your last season as the Saints head coach if you don't make the playoffs. That's all I got. Let me know what y'all think on this situation in the comments below. As always, man, it's the Boot Tragedies, and I'm out.